Hello friends, you're welcome. In this video tutorial, I'm just teach you how to create a login form using Visual Studio using C# language. Here we learn a login form with database and also without database. Without database is easy because we add code in a coding, what is the user ID and password, that we need to compare and we need to get the result. Whereas in case of database validation, so the program should connect to the database and there it should check the user ID and password. And here is a login form example. It will have two text boxes, one for the user ID. So this is for the user ID, the other one for password. So both the values matches, then only should log in, otherwise it shouldn't log in. So for that, you're supposed to use Visual Studio. In case if you don't have Visual Studio, you can download the Visual Studio from Microsoft website. So in order to download Visual Studio, you have to go to Microsoft website. So here you can download community editions, or you can go to free, even it's okay, free Visual Studio, or you can download the community. Community is a free edition. So and if after download, you need to install. When you're installing, you need to select Visual Basic in case you would like to work on Visual Basic projects, and C# in case you would like to work for the C# project. And particularly there again web project or desktop project. So you need to install all the options, which are the options you required. So we have a separate video for that, please follow that. And now I'll start Visual Studio and I'll show you how to create a login page in Visual Studio. So I already installed in my system, so therefore I'll just go to Visual Studio 2019. Right, so let me start from the scratch. So when you start this is the welcome screen we have. So if I already have some projects, it will show the recent projects. Okay, so then if at all if you would like to create a new project, here you can see that there is a new project. So click on the create new project. So when you click new project, you need to select C# project for desktop. Therefore you just browse over here. Right, so Windows Form Application .NET Framework, and this is a C# language. This is for Windows, and this is the desktop application. So here is option, a project for creating application with Windows Forms user interface. Okay, so let me create with the Windows Forms interface. So I'll choose this one and click next option. So because we are using C# language, therefore we are making desktop application, therefore you need to select this option. So click next. Next is the project name. So what is the project name we would like to give? So let me say login project C#, because we are using C#, I'll just give us a C# over there. Next is a location where you would like to save this project. Okay, so by default you'll go to the user's default folder, but I don't want over here, so therefore we browse here. So there is a browse button. Then maybe you check it out where you would like to save. Maybe D drive is ideal, we select this one. In my case, I'll select the temp directory, then I'll go to projects. So here I would like to create the project. So therefore I select new projects. And now, so login project C# is the folder name and the project name both. In case you are creating in your system, you make go to D drive, create your name, and then C# projects, create a folder called C# project, and under that you can save this one. Fine. Next is the framework. So we have multiple frameworks over here. So presently I'm using 4.6. Even you can use higher version, there is no problem. The next is you click the create button. Fine. Now you can see that it created a project, login project C#, and here is a solution explorer. You can see what are the components by default you already have. You have one.program.cs file. Here basically it shows from which form you want to start in the beginning. Okay, so therefore we have only one form, so therefore it's a application.run new form 1. So therefore it will run the form 1, and here is the form 1. So this is the form 1, and you would like to see the code, so you go to the code section. So here is a code window. So when you click, by default this much code is already there. So whenever you want to write new code based on the event, we can write the code for this. Right, so let me run the project. So here is the start button, you click the run, so the project will run. Because we have only one form, that particular form will run. Let's see that how the form looks like. Fine. So here is the form. So this is how it is running. Okay. So first step I'll do is let me change the color. Okay. Let me change the background color. So to change the background color, so go to back color. You need to select the form, then go to properties window. So assume in case you don't have the properties window over here. So what you can do is go to view menu and choose properties window. So here is a properties window. So you need to select the properties window. So then you will get the properties window. In a properties window, you need to select back color. So therefore to change the back color, go to back color, then click and go to custom colors and choose the color you want. So we also separate videos to learn C#. So go through them. So learn step by step. Then these things you can learn much more faster. Right. So now next step is now I'm going to run the project. So you see that is in the purple color. Right. So next step is you want to make it this window or this form to be big size or complete window size. So in order to make this, you have a property called as window state. So select the window state and select maximized. Select maximized and see that it should go to the full screen. Now the form will go for full screen. Right. So next you want to change the title here. That is a form 1. Instead of form 1, we want to say login form. So in order to do this, there is a text property. So we need to change the text property. So here it is form 1 text. So then change the text property to login form. So the login form. Right. So that changed to login form now. So we have a login form. Next step is we need to design the login form. So we require 2 text boxes and the 2 buttons and 2 labels. So in order to get them, so you have to go to toolbox. Again, in case you don't have the toolbox over here, you go to view menu and then select the toolbox here. So here is a toolbox. We need to click on the toolbox to get back the toolbox. Right. So here is the toolbox. So we have all the form controls. Let me close that tag and we will take only common controls. In a common controls, we required text box. Therefore, I'll select the text box here and I'll drag it on the page or form. Right, one text box. Then I want label. So therefore, let me take label. The label. Then I want one button. So I'll just take the button here. So button. Then drag it on the screen. Now we have 3. One is a text box, a label, button. And see that the font size is very small. So let me increase the font size. We can increase the font size selecting the 1 control, or else if you form level, if you increase the font size, then automatically it'll increase to every control. Therefore, I'll select the form. So you can see that form is selected here and then go to font. By default, it's around 8 point. So therefore we want 8, let me make it 12. And here font is concerned, let me select Vardhana. So this is Vardhana and click OK. Now you can see that text boxes increases, the size is increased because now the font size is 12. Whatever you enter, the font will be 12 now. So it's a label. Now move the label over there here and give the caption or you change the text to user ID or login ID. Login ID. Then let me decrease the size here. Okay. Now again we require one more label, one more text box. What I'll do is I click somewhere outside and drag it here. I want to select both the controls. So if I leave this, means how I do this. So move the cursor somewhere on the right, left top, click, press the left mouse, press the left key button. So then drag it. So then both the controls are selected. Now we can copy, right click, copy, then click somewhere outside and then right click and then paste. So you can see that the controls are pasted again. Now you can see the name. Okay. So now this is the text box 2. The previous one is text box 1. When you copy and paste, the control number automatically get increases. So here is a login ID. So instead of login ID, let me make it as a password. So here is a password. Right. So then button, for button text, so we want to make it as a login here. So therefore I just go to text here and then give the name as a login. I required one more button to cancel this. If I don't want to log in, I want to close the application. So paste it here. So then here you can say cancel. Right. So now our design is ready. So we have 2 labels, 2 text boxes, 2 buttons. So I not change any names, control names, all default names only. This is a text box 1, text box 2, button 1, and then button 2. So now first let's see how to write code without database. Right. So first I'll run the project. So start. So you can see this is how it looks actually, right? So now I go to login button. So double click over there here. So on double click, I'll take to the code window, button one click. So when you click the button, what you want to do? So what we want to do is we want to check what is there in the text box 1, what is there in the text box 2, so that we can compare with the by static values. We can write the static value here, and if there matches, then we allow to go to the next page. So how do we do this? So if text box 1 dot text dot equals, if is equal to let's say ABCD, so it should be ABCD. And so it is, and text box 2 dot text equals to again ABCD. Okay, so let's say ABCD. So let me close. Okay, so the first open bracket here, then we close that bracket over here, and here is the one more bracket, so that is closed over there, and here is one more bracket that is closed here. Okay, so now so these two conditions, one if is equal to ABCD and text2 is equal to ABCD. So what we want to do is we give the message box dot show, then I'd say login successful. Else, in case if is not there, so we write else, then we'll have open parenthesis. So again the message box. So let me copy the message box and then write over there message box dot show user ID or login ID or password not correct, or password is not correct, right? So this is true. If both are correct, it should show login successful. If not, it should show login ID or password is not correct. So let me save this and then let me run this project. So ABCD, then here also I'll write ABCD, click. So login successful. So therefore the code is okay. If you enter something else here, so login ID or password is not correct. So if you give correctly, it'll take to the next page or it show the correct message. If it's something wrong, it'll show that password not correct. And now here you can see that password you are entering. So you don't want to show the password on screen. There star has to come or some characters has to come. So this is easy. Select the text box, then go to properties. There is one property called as a password character. So there is a password character. Here you make it as a star. So once you make star, and now if you run the project, you can see that whatever you type will come as a star now. Right. Now what we'll do is if it's successful, I want to send to another page or another form. For that we require one more form. So to add the form, go to project, add form. Right. So this is a form2.cs. This is a Windows form. So we want to select the Windows form here, and the name is form2.cs. I have not changed the form name. Let it be by default. So this is the form2. Let me make it is maximized, and let's change the background color. So back color, we'll put some other color now. So let's say this color. Now if it's successful, so here we write the code. Okay, so therefore if successful, it should show me the form2. So therefore it's a form f2 that is equal to new form2. That's right, f2 dot show. You want to show that form. And now this message box is not needed, so therefore I'll remark the message box. So two forward slashes will remark the code. Right, let us run the project now. This is ABCD. Now ABCD, click login. Now you can see that next form appeared. So this still is there. Okay, so we can hide that form, or once you say cancel, So here is a cancel. So when you cancel, the program should end. Okay. So in order to end the application, right, you need to write application dot exit. Application dot exit will exit the complete project, or will stop the project. So this is how we can write the code for static values. So these are the static values. So it's always ABCD only. Whenever you need to log in, you have to enter ABCD, ABCD. But it's not good for always. So therefore, it's always better to connect to the database, and then we need to work with the database. Now let's understand how to create the database. So in order to create the database, you have to go to Server Explorer. So go to View menu and check Server Explorer. Here is a Server Explorer. So click on Server Explorer. So you'll have a Server Explorer here. And I suggest you write down all these steps and try yourself to create the same project. And if you are successful, that is great. Okay. So therefore, that's how you can learn. But you'll get some errors. But you need to digest like why the error, what is the error. And in case if you have difficulties, you can write it in a comment box. We can help you out on this. Right. So now we have a data connections here. So here, this is the SQL Server Interface via we can able to create the database. We can also have a separate interface. There also we can create. It'll do the same job. Therefore, I'll just create here only. I go to data connections, right click. I go to add connection. Add connection. Here you can see the data source. What type of data source you are using? I'm using Microsoft SQL Server database file because it's a database file. It's easily deployable. That means you can copy from one system to other system. If you use a server database, then you need to take a backup, then you need to transfer to other system. Or Access file or Oracle file, okay, we can use multiple data types, databases. But at this moment, I'm going to use the SQL Server database file. Okay, click OK. Then what is the database name? So now I'll give the name as login database. Already have one actually. So therefore I can say login to database. So login database is already present. So therefore I just give as a login to database. And where you would like to create. So here you can create a new one or you can link to the existing one. Okay. So now I'm presently creating the new one. So therefore I go to browse button. So now this is the C# project and you need to keep this database in bin folder and debug folder. So then referencing to this folder will be easy because your exe file will be created in the debug folder. So now this is the login2.mdf. Click open and click OK. Yes. As I told already, sometimes we may get errors. Now you can see that it is created login to database, right? So now if you expand this, you have a tables here, and if you expand the tables, there are no tables. So we need to create table. In order to create a table, right click here and then go to add new table. We can also write queries. Okay, if you know like SQL query, you can write. Otherwise, here also SQL query will be generated. I'll show you like how to create a new table here. So this is the design actually. Fine. So here you can create, but otherwise we can go to SQL straight away. Here is a table name. So therefore, let's call it as a login table. And there is an ID integer primary key. Okay, instead of that, I'll say login ID. Login ID is a column name, and this is the integer, or I'll take as a varchar. So let's say varchar of 10, and then password. So therefore, this is the p word. So again, this is varchar of 10, maximum 10 characters. So we want two columns. So this is for login ID varchar 10 and password 10. So here we can type here also, and we can select the data type here also. It will automatically create the corresponding SQL query over there, and that you need to execute. Here is the update button. Click on the update button. So update database. So okay. So now we come back to the server explorer, and here is say tables. Nothing is showing. Refresh it. So therefore you can see there is a login table. Okay, your login table created. There are many ways to create the login table. Even you can use the query. So you can go to right click and then new query. We can straight away, we can write the query here, create table, table name, column name, and all we can do it here also. Fine. So next step is let me put some values here. So now to add the values, go to show table data, and here you can see that there is nothing here. I'll write admin, then admin, user ID is admin and password is admin, and also I'll write ABCD. Now we can able to log in via admin or ABCD. Anything else you shouldn't log in. So close this. Now our data is saved and our table is ready, our database is ready. So I think most of the things are ready. Now what I'll do is I'll just modify this. Okay, so this is what the code is already written. I will going to modify this one. So in order to connect to the database, we need to know some basics. Okay, the basics is one is we need to use the system.data.sql client. So this is the namespace or library. This library we need to use in order to work with the database, SQL database, using system.data.sql client. In the beginning, we need to declare it. We need to use this one. After that, we should know about SQL connection. SQL connection is a connection component. So this is one component to connect to the SQL database. Okay. So therefore, here you can say a new SQL connection and you need to give the connection string here. Therefore, you can able to connect to the particular database. Next one, SQL command. SQL command to execute the SQL statements. Here we can execute SQL statement like select, insert, update, delete. All the commands we can able to execute via SQL command. My command is a variable name, so any name you can give it here. So presently we give it as a my command. Okay, so this is a new SQL command. And then if you execute SQL statement, it will return the values. So SQL statement will get back the values. That values we need to transfer to the container. So therefore SQL data reader is a container. So whatever the data comes will be stored into my reader. So it will be there in the my reader of the type SQL data reader. So therefore three things are important. One is SQL connection to connect to the backend, SQL command to execute the SQL statements, and SQL data reader to hold the content. What are the contents comes from the select statement that will be stored in the SQL data reader. In this case, we declared as a my reader. So you should know like three things. One is SQL connection, SQL command, SQL data reader. So let's come back. So let us declare how to do this. Sorry, let's try this. Okay. So using system.data.sql client. So we need to add this namespace in order to work with the database, system.data.sql client. Right. After that, so we need to declare the connection object. We need to write the connection object. So the connection object will be something like this. Okay, SQL connection, new SQL connections. Fine. So here we write SQL connection. So what is the connection name? So let's say CONN is a connection name. So new SQL connection. So then open bracket, close bracket. So here we need to give the connection string, SQL connection. So then, so here, sorry, I'll just show you. So SQL connection. So you should give the SQL connection string. So we're supposed to give the connection string here. So now what is the connection string? Where do you get the connection string? That is very, very important. So now to get the connection string, come back to again Server Explorer, select the database, log into database.mdf. And if you go to properties window, here you can see there is a connection string here. Connection string. Fine. So connection string. So how to get the connection string? Go to Server Explorer, select this, and then you come to connection string here. So select the complete connection string here. Copy the connection string. In front of connection string, you have a connection string. Copy that complete connection string. Then we can come back here, put a double quotes. Then we need to paste it here. Now you can see that wherever one backward slash will show some underline. So now to avoid this, we need to use @. Okay, so instead of single backward slash, you need to make as a double. Okay, so put one more here. So there's one more. Fine. Wherever there is a single backward slash, you need to make it as a double. Fine. So now there are no errors. So mean the connection string okay. We can remove this, and instead of that we can use some global variable, that is the data directory, that I'll show you in the next video. Fine. So our connection is done. Now connection is done. So next step is we need to create an SQL statement. So therefore I'll write a string SQL str. So that is equal to empty. Okay, first let me declare this. I can declare outside also. So let's go and declare here. Fine, SQL str. So the SQL str is equal to, you write select star from login table. We want to select from the login table, where our login ID, so that is the login ID is the column name, that is equal to single quote, double quote, and then we need to join with plus mark and text box 1.text, text box 1.text. So here the value, so what are the value you entered, that is there in the text box 1.text, plus we want to join the rest of the statement, that is a concatenation. So plus is here is acting as a concatenating operator. So then single quote, then we have to write and is to check for the next part, that is a p word password. So that is equal to single quote, then double quote, then plus text box 2.text. So what are the value in the text box 2 plus double quote, single quote, right? So this makes a statement, SQL statement. On executing this statement, if returns the value, means the data is present in the table. If don't return the value, it means that data is not present in the database. So if not present, then you give the message box. So data is not present means login ID is not valid. If it is return the value, then you can see that it's okay. Then we can send to the next page. Now this has to be executed in the SQL command, as we discussed already. So you require a command object. Therefore SQL command, command name cmd1, that is equal to new SQL command. And here we require two important things. One is command string, that is a command text, what is the SQL statement you want to execute, and SQL connection, which is the connection we would like to use. Right, so connection is the connection object. So therefore here is SQL str, this is the statement SQL str, comma connection. So this is the connection object. So when you execute this, we want to transfer this value to the reader, data reader. So therefore SQL data reader, let's say dr1, that is equal to, so whatever you execute here, semd1 dot execute reader. So this value should go to the dr1. So when you execute this, what are the values will return? Will come back to the dr1. So now dr1 will have the values. So first thing we need to check whether dr1 will have the value or not. So therefore we write dr1 dot read, dr1 dot read. So there's a separate video for this, like how to do all these things. So please watch that video, database connection video. So there we'll explain all the things in detail. Right. So when you read this, it should go to the form 2. Otherwise, it should give the message box login ID or password not correct. Now in order to work with this, so first you need to open the connection. So therefore let's say connection dot open. So we need to open the connection, and then once the work is get over, you need to close the connection. So therefore we go to connection dot close. We can close the connection. So first we have to open the connection, then you have SQL command here. So SQL command, then you have to write the SQL query. So this is the SQL query, which is to check whether these values, what are the values you enter, it is there in the database or not. If it is there, we're going to read that. If when it's read true means it'll go to next page. If not, it'll show the message box. Okay. So this is the number of lines you need to write to check whether the values are present in the table or not. Fine. So important steps are, first step is you need to use system.SQL client. Then you need to declare SQL connection. You need a connection string. So you have to go to Server Explorer and then you have to go to connection string here. You need to copy the connection string, and wherever one backward slash, you need to make two, then two backward slashes. Then you need to do SQL command, SQL data reader, and all these things. Fine. So now let me run this project. Okay, format of initial string does not specify starting at the index 60. There is some problem. Okay, the error is due to that here is only one backward slash. You need to make two, so I just made two. Fine, so it's rectified. So now I'm going to run it again. Fine, so it's working fine. So login ID, password. So let's say admin, then admin, and I will put some extra character here. So click login. Login ID or password not correct, because only take for admin and admin. So if any extra characters, no, when it's not matching, you shouldn't take actually. Now it is admin and here is admin. Click login. So it logs in. Fine. Now it's successful. So what are the values you enter? It's check in this table. So if the values are present, then only it can able to log in. Now I'll go there and enter ABCD, then again ABCD. So click login. It should log in. Fine. So otherwise you shouldn't log into this application. So this is how we can write code. This is a one method. So there are many ways you can write the code. So this is the simplest way to practice. So keep practice this, and if you are successful, really great. And keep watch and keep practice. Therefore, you can learn each day more programming. So if you're not yet subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel. Subscription is free. So when you subscribe, it helps us to provide more videos, and it will also help you to get our videos easily. Also, please share this video with your friends and family members who are like to learn C# or any other languages, so they'll get the benefit. And if you like this video, please click the thumbs up. So please watch our videos and keep practice. In turn, you can gain the experience. So thank you for watching. So in case you would like to contact us, here is the contact details. Please contact using any of these options. Thank you very much.